Hi everyone, this is Brave Yokian. Welcome to the Deeper Life Entrepreneurship School. So I'll be taking you on coding. I believe you've learned a lot so far, and we want to just dive deep into coding or walk you through the fundamentals. Then from there, you will get to build. Um, we'll start with a project, or would end with a project rather. So we want to, we'll be using programming language, a particular programming language, which is JavaScript, to build a project, and that would just be a temperature converter. So we can start with that. If time permits, we can actually do more. So temperature converter takes in, say you tell it, okay, I want you to, okay, you give it 32 degrees centigrade, for example, and it returns, the output is now the equivalent temperature in Fahrenheit, or you put in Fahrenheit and it gives you the Celsius conversion. So it's basically a temperature converter, which we would do. Yeah, so that should be at the end of the class. All right. So very soon I'll be sharing my screen, but let me just briefly talk about programming languages. Yeah, so programming languages can also be called machine language. It's actually a language that the computer understands. Actually is represented with zeros and ones. That's what computer understands. It doesn't understand cats, it doesn't understand two-letter words, it doesn't understand English, it doesn't understand French, whatever. What computer just understands is zeros and ones. So, but what happens with all these programming languages that we see, and we could see some even English in it, like maybe function or method, or we can see some keywords, that are being used. So, programming languages are just a way to, give instruction to the computer. So the computer takes in these instructions and processes it and gives you an output. Okay, so coding, or who is a programmer? A programmer is basically somebody who harnesses the tools of programming. Programming is made up of we have the syntax. We have the syntax. We equally have the the methods, inbuilt methods of functions that work together to be able to bring out a meaningful output. So who is a programmer? A programmer is someone who is skilled at using the tools of a particular programming language or programming languages to come up with solutions to problems. So actually, you'd find out that a programmer is a problem solver. So programming is just beyond writing the codes and getting it to work. Programming also entails critical thinking. It entails logical reasoning. It entails problem solving. Yeah, so you need to have a problem solving mindset in order to be able to actually fly in programming. So I think that's very important to have that fundamental knowledge. All right. So we'll be talking about JavaScript. Actually, there are different programming languages. You have C#, C++, Python, JavaScript. You have Golang, you have PHP, you have Python, Ruby on Rails, and a whole lot of programming languages. In fact, there are just quite many. So, but different programming languages solve different problems better than other programming languages. So it depends on what you want to do. So that will now determine what programming language you want to use. For example, if you are, let's say you want to build a website, JavaScript is a language of the web. So that JavaScript was built majorly for website development. However, there are some other languages that can be used for web development, like Python, PHP, and some other languages. So, but JavaScript was built for the web, and it's still the most preferred language for web development. Yeah. So I'll be taking you on JavaScript. That's what we'll be doing. So what you will need, you will need a laptop. You would need to install some softwares that I would be telling you as we go ahead. Yeah, so you need a power source, you need internet connectivity. So I think with that, you are fine and you are good to go, and you can follow me through in the class. All right. Because this is a 30-minute class, I'll try my best to see how much I can cover with the time. So when you get this video, feel free to, you can slow it down in order to be able to follow. You can pause, you can replay, so that you'll be able to follow through. Yeah. Okay, so getting started, would have to download Node.js. So what's Node.js? Node.js is, okay, Node .js. You can say Node.js or Node.js. So Node.js is a runtime environment for JavaScript. So what do I mean by runtime environment? It's like saying fishes live in the water or in the sea. So what is the sea to the fish? So the sea is an environment for the fish. So the fish lives in the sea, and that becomes a natural environment for the fish. So same thing with Node.js. Node.js is a runtime environment for JavaScript. So it gives JavaScript the environment to be able to express itself, or gives you an environment for JavaScript code to be written and run. Yeah, so that's basically what Node.js is. So you will have to download Node.js to your system. Yeah, I will show you shortly how you get through that. So in addition, I just want to also say, though we're still going to the practical session, in addition, I'll also show you that you can actually use your browser. If you have a browser, Chrome, Firefox, any browser at all. So you can actually use your browser as an environment. Remember, now I've talked about an environment. You can actually use your browser as an environment to write JavaScript code. So just in case, and also there are some websites where you could just go, and maybe you don't want to go through the stress of downloading Node.js, installing on your system, or maybe your system is not powerful enough to be able to hold Node.js and maybe Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a code editor, which you would see in a bit. So you can actually write JavaScript code on your browser, and you will run it and you see the outputs. So these are several ways in which you can still run JavaScript code. Okay, so yeah, so I'll just take you through. Yeah, so I'll just take you through. So you just open your browser. Sorry, let me share my screen quickly so that you get to see. Okay, so all right, so with this, you can see my screen here. So just open your browser. Yeah, you open your browser. That's just in case your system requirements is not that fine for writing or downloading heavy software. So you can just type repl.it. So Replit, you enter replit.com. So that's the website. So with this, you can, okay, so let's see. Replit.com. Okay, so okay, so you'd have to log in. It requires that you log in before you use the interface. Okay, so all right. So that's it. Okay, so I don't want all of this. Yeah, so so you just create repo. So you search. So you see Node.js here. You can see Node.js here. You just click on Node.js. Then title, just give it a title. You can just say classroom 1. So you can say classroom 1 and you create it. So you click on create repo. So yeah, so it's trying to set up here on this other side is called the terminal. This side that looks dark, it's called the terminal. This side, as you can see here, this side is where you write your code. So after writing your code, there's a button here called run. So you run the code and you see the output here. So even though you have, let's say you can use your phone, for example, say you don't have a laptop, if you just go to replit.com, replit.com, or even though you say repl.it, it will still take you to replit.com. So, but the website is replit.com, replit.com. So you sign up, get an account, and from there, you can just write your code here. So when you write your code here, you see the output here. All right, so let's just run something. Yeah, so we are setting up our environment, so don't worry about what I'm writing. Console.log, hello world. Yeah, so you run it. Look at my right, so you can see hello world. So you have an output, hello world. All right, so I'm just setting up the environment. So let's say another way to write JavaScript is, so you can create a new tab like this, then you right click. So when you right click, you see inspect. So when you click on inspect, so this is what comes out. That's for if you're using a system, this is what comes out. But if you're using a phone, definitely you won't see this. So console. So as you can see, console. So from this console, let me push this a bit up. From this console, as you can see, you can write code and output it. So let's say you say console.log. Mind you, console.log is just a simple way to output a code. Any code you put in this parenthesis is what you will see as the output. So, so console.log, you can say hello world. So I just want to show you different ways of writing so that you can always walk around. If you, even though you don't have a system to get all the softwares, you can always use some lighter tools to still ensure that you are coding. All right, so console.log hello world. So you press enter. Have you seen enter? So enter brings out hello world, and you can see it. Yeah. So that's another way. Another way of writing JavaScript code is that you need to download Node.js, like I said. All these things that are running is because they have Node.js installed. That's why they're able to run. So let's check out the next way. I'm just trying to show you different ways. So let's say you have to download Node.js, node.js, enter. So as you can see, already you can see node.js download. So you just click on download, wait for some time. Then from there, it depends on the machine you are using. That's the operating system. So whether you're using Windows, you're using a Mac, or whatever you're using. So you select it, 32 bits, 64 bits, and all of that. So yeah, so you go for, okay, let's see, Windows installer. So this is it. If you have a Windows machine, you can click on Windows. You have Mac, click on Mac. So why I won't click on it is because I already have it installed on my system. So I'm actually using a Mac OS. So, but I don't want to install it again. I already have it. So, but if you don't, so this is how you do it. You click on it, you download it, then the installation begins to run when you click on it. That's when you click on the downloaded file, you can then run the installation. Okay, great. So, all right. So next, after installing Node.js, remember that's the runtime, you would also need to install Visual Studio Code. So what's Visual Studio Code? The Visual Studio Code is it. All right, so as you can see, Visual Studio Code is a code editor, right? It's where you write your code and you're able to see your output. So the same thing we saw at replit.com here. So it has this kind of interface. It has a place where you type your code, where you create files, you type your code, and you see the output. All right, so don't forget, we are still on setup, trying to set up the environment. We've not even gone into the main coding yet. We are trying to set up our environment. I'm showing you different ways of setting it up. And yeah, so yeah, so you see the download button here. So what it tells you is download Mac Universal. So I'm using a Mac, but I already have it on my system, so I wouldn't download it again. So if you're using Windows, I think if you click here, yeah, if you click here, you see Mac OS, you see Windows, stable insider. So you go for the stable release. Yeah, so you click on that. So immediately you click, the download should start. I don't want to download it, so that's why I'm not clicking on it for now. But let's just run it, say you're using a Windows. So let me click this. Okay, so it comes in. Yeah. All right, so you see .exe is already telling me that's the extension. Why? Because it's a Windows. So, but I don't want to download it, so I just cancel it. All right, well, if you don't have it, you can go ahead and download it. Yeah, so when you download it, you're going to have, okay, so, sorry, this is my own Visual Studio Code. This, sorry, I have code already here. So let me just open a new window of a new window. Okay, let me close all these ones so that I can be able to open a new window. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm trying to close all the instances, close these. All right. This looks good. Okay, so I have something clear now. All right, so I can spin up my Visual Studio Code. If you're using Windows, same thing. Just where you open an application, right click on it, then click open, or you double click, you tap twice, it will open. So here I'll just open it. All right, so this is how a Visual Studio Code looks like. This is how a Visual Studio Code looks like. All right, so this is just exactly what you would see. So normally you would need to create a folder. Yeah, you will need to create a folder to work with Visual Studio Code. So, okay. So what you can do, instead of new file or open, okay, so let me see, file, open folder, new text file, new window, add folder. All right, so it's always better if you're working with Visual Studio Code, it's always better to create your folder first. So when you create your folder first on your system, then you can now drag that folder and open it on Visual Studio Code. It's always better that way. So with that, so you can go to your desktop or anywhere, documents, anywhere you want to do it. So you just create a new folder, you call it okay. So, you call it DLES, Department of Entrepreneurship School. You enter. So with this, you can now go back to your Visual Studio Code. So you now go to open. If you don't see this, you can come up here, click on file, then you see open folder or open, anyone, open. So it takes you to your folders. So what do we want to do is in our desktop that we created that, and we called it DLES. So this is it. So remember it's folder, you open folders. You can equally open files, but for the purpose of this class, create a folder and you open it. Open. All right. So as you can see here, towards my left, you see DLES. It's already there. Okay. So with that, you can now create a file. You can still create a folder, like it will not be like a subfolder under DLES. Depends on what you want to do, but we just create this. Okay, if you hover on it, as you can see new file here. If you hover on this, you see new folder, right? If you hover on this, you say refresh, and whatever you did, just hover. When you hover on it, you will see the message and you'll be able to know what to do. So I clicked on this new file, the very first icon here. So here I can say index, for example, index.js, enter. All right, so what do I mean by this? Now, JavaScript files have the .js extension. So any file you see that has .js, it could be any name. It could be deeperlife.js. It could be school.js. It could be index.js. It could be app.js. It could be literally anything. Actually, you can give it any name. You can give it any name, but in your naming, JavaScript actually follows a naming convention, which is called camel casing. Camel casing. So what's camel casing? Let me just give you an example. An example is, let's say you want to bring in two words. Let's say, for example, academic institution, for example. Let's say academic institution. So instead of saying dash institution, let's say you want to just do something like this, for example. So what JavaScript allows you to do is camel casing. So that's the convention. So academic, then capital I, NSTITUTIO. So do you see? So they are two different words, but they are joined together. So what separates them, or what makes us know that these are two different words, is because at the end of this academic, we have capital I before other letters follow. So this tells us that these are two different words. But if it is a single word, then small letter, that's lowercase, is accepted. That's for naming. I'm talking about naming now. Let's say file name or other names that you get to hear. All right. So yeah, so we have this index.js. So it means our environment is ready, right? And remember, I had told you to install Node.js. If you don't install Node.js, you will not be able to run your JavaScript code to see the output. So you need to install Node.js. All right, so think I can give you a break here. So we'll come back and we'll continue from here. Thank you.